I think the point with the deal was basically just line up as many talented starters as we could. We feel like, I think we've got depth and we've got quality, and I think that'll be a conversation here for the next, few weeks and months with Jace, Larry, myself, and a bunch of people overall throughout the organization, how we want to do it.
What about Joe? There were a lot of things that seemed improved and that he's on the rise. What about him made you guys do this?
I think, again, he's obviously been a guy that's he's been very talented. He was a high draft pick, and was on a very successful Astro team, and then here the last few years with the traded for Garrett Cole, and I think for us, like he's been one of the better pitchers we feel like in the league, and we also feel like he's a guy that's still got some more upside in his performance. I think really the last month of last season, I think that's what we're hoping to tap into. Went out, I think it was 5 walks and 38 strikeouts or so. But yeah, he's a physical right-hand pitcher. He's a really good athlete. He can spin 2 breaking balls. He fields his position well. He's got multiple weapons and ways to get people out, and I think there's a lot to like there. So I think from that standpoint, he was a guy that really our whole front office group really was pushing for throughout the offseason. We were able to line up here the last 24 hours on.
All right, next we'll go to Brandon Stone with KUSI.
Hello there, AJ. I'm just wondering how much importance, if at all, you put in acquiring local talent.
Yeah, I think it was one of the factors. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about getting pieces that fit and the right guys from a talent and makeup standpoint. I think with Joe, again, like he's being from San Diego, I think there's a motivation there. A guy that knows the city. He's a Padre fan. He grew up there, and I think from his standpoint, wanting to win for his hometown club. I think that was, we viewed that as a positive. It definitely wasn't the deciding factor in the deal, but it was definitely a positive. Him being here and wanting to do something in his hometown team and being excited about being in a city that he loves with a team. When I talked to him here in the last hour, a team he's very clearly excited about playing for.
Excellent, thank you.
Next we'll go to Darnay with NBC.
Hey, AJ. I mean, just how much satisfaction is there in just what you guys have been able to do in terms of rotation, especially over the last couple of years, to stack talent the way you have? How satisfying is it to be in the position you are after the moves that you've made this offseason?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've talked about it. In order to win, you need really a lot of talented pitchers and really stacking guys that can pitch in the front of a rotation. So I think from that standpoint, I think it speaks to like the depth and quality in the farm system. I think, in terms of some of the trades we've been able to make and still maintain, what we think is one of the best farm systems in the game. I think we feel like it's not just the 5 starters that are, that people are talking about that have experience at the big league level, but we have a lot of belief and faith and excitement with, some of the other pitchers that are going to be in camp, Mackenzie Gore, Ryan Weathers, Adrian Morihone, who was on our club last year and a big piece of our club last year. Other guys coming in the system like Reese Kinnear, Efrain Contreras. So, again, like it's been a point of focus from us from day one is develop starters, acquire starters, trade for starters. We feel like, again, like that's what wins games, that's what wins championships and gets you in the playoffs is quality starting pitching. And, we feel like we've accumulated a good pitching staff and a good starting pitching staff for sure.
And you said a bit earlier to Kevin, you don't know exactly what the plan's going to be for you guys this year, but how creative do you expect teams to be this coming year with the rotations coming off a year where starting pitchers didn't rack up as many innings as they would have liked heading into what could be a 162 game season again?
No, I think everybody's, that's going to be a big theme for spring training, being part of the year. I think everybody's going to, probably have their game plan and how they want to handle it based on their staff and their personnel. So, we won't be any different, but I think that was definitely, I think a part of this deal, big part of this deal was, was Joe Musgrove and just the talent that we feel like he has, what he's done and what we think he has a chance to do in the next couple of years. And, I think another part of it was just, like planning for a roster, and stacking up a roster. That's where you take the Zoom call from your house and your parents' house, but they actually have an old school phone in the house. So, Yeah, I think just like lining up the roster for 160, for 162 games and being able to stack up a pitching staff that can handle that. So I think that was the idea behind the deal.
Next, we'll go to Troy Hirsch with Fox 5.
You like that, Tim Brown, by the way? I see you cracking up. I told Mom, hey, make sure you get on this call quickly if somebody calls for us. Go ahead.
I was wondering if that was another trade coming in, AJ. In regards to all these trades, first of all, Happy New Year. Good to see you. Back in 2015, AJ, when you started, you made a bunch of big name trades. You brought in a bunch of players. I'm wondering what you learned from that situation and why you think this year these trades might work out better than those did for the team.
Yeah, definitely learned a lot. I think again, we constantly are looking back at all the moves, over the last 5 or 6 years, and I think the best thing is to self-evaluate. And I think, again, each year is a little bit different, and I think I think our game plan in 2015, a lot's been said about that. I think, what we were trying to do, philosophically, at least, made some sense. But it's about getting the right guys and the right people in the building. And I think, a lot of differences. I think probably the biggest thing is what our scouts and our group has done the last 4 or 5 years in terms of building a foundation. That's probably the biggest key, that we're getting pieces that go on top of some really key foundational type pieces, et cetera, like on our big league club. And it really just comes down to getting the right guys. And ultimately, that 2015 group wasn't quite the right people in the building and in the locker room. So I think you kind of continue to dig in on makeup, personality, chemistry. The team last year really vibed and had a great feel. So I think when we went to make these moves, we wanted to make sure we maintained that and had some guys that we felt like we're gonna complement and kind of help that group and have the similar vibe. And hopefully we have a team that can play deeper into October this year.
And that 2014 season obviously wasn't a great season, but this past year, you guys went to the playoffs. You have some foundation, as you mentioned, some background. Do you think that'll make a big difference with these players coming in to step up to the next level versus a team that had never been to the postseason prior?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like Don Wilkie always used to talk about, we talk about a lot in our organization that, you need ability and then you need stability. And, I think from a standpoint, like a lot of guys that were both from a coaching staff, front office and player standpoint that were on that field and in the building in Texas and in October, I can tell you a lot of, that whole group is not satisfied. So I think having those experiences, realizing we have to get better, hopefully being able to self-evaluate and know the areas that we have to get better in. I think all those experiences are going to help out. And I think, having a crew that played in the playoffs last year, was a very talented team that went toe to toe with pretty much everybody in the National League. I think that's, I think the whole marching order for us and the goal is to build off of that. And I think just even in the offseason conversation amongst the group, it's a pretty common theme that the group wasn't satisfied. They want to build off of those experiences from last year, but we know we've got to get better, and hopefully we have some other pieces that are coming in to help us, get deeper in the playoffs this year.
Thank you for your time, AJ.
Thanks, Troy.
Next up, we'll go to Marty Caswell, 1360. She might be frozen, so let's go to Ben Higgins.
Hey, AJ, obviously you've got a full 26-man roster. You've kept most of your top prospects, even with all these trades. How much of a thinking is there that some of the middle-level prospects aren't going to get an opportunity in the next couple of years based on what your roster is looking like, and you kind of need to use them and get something out of them now? Does that play at all into some of these deals?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you build up the organization depth, and we've been, maybe one of the top ranked, if not the top ranked farm system 3 or 4 years in a row. And I think you can even see it when we make these deals and we still, have talent that other teams want. You build that up for, obviously guys that you want to play in San Diego. But there's 9 position players on the field and, or 9 players on the field at any time. So, you also are doing it for, that make players that are attractive to other clubs. So I think from our standpoint, as we've looked at it, it doesn't mean to be flippant with the talent and the players we have in the organization. But, I think, to be honest, the bar is set high. If you want to play shortstop in this organization, you've got to be an elite player. If you want to play third base, you've got to be an elite player. If you want to play second base, you've got to be a plus player. If you want to play first base, and that was the goal 5 years ago when we sat down, is really have that throughout the organization. I think it makes your standards higher and, raises that level of competition. And I think we've kind of seen that reflected in some of these moves. So, I think, again, we've been able to, some of these guys ultimately just not enough space for everybody. We've done some of these deals to try to help get us a couple pieces that get us over the top. So.
And given that you're in win now mode, obviously, but you still have some of these top prospects that are knocking on the door, how do you balance still developing them and maybe getting them some big league time without sacrificing, perhaps putting untested and untried young players into important situations here when you're trying to win a World Series?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think a few things, all of these moves, there's really, they've all been tailored. I think the part that we've liked, and the reason why we've given up young talent, is because the moves are geared towards, players that have, 2-3 years of control, 4 or 5 years of control in some standpoint. It's not the, the all in to try to win in one season. I think we're looking at, this is something we want to be year in, year out competitive. That's what fans respond to. And that's the goal of our front office, is every single year to look up and say we have a chance to play into October. So I think that's been the biggest part of these moves and these deals, is trying to make sure that the players we get back are going to play, having multiple years, multiple pennant races, et cetera. And then, again, like in terms of the young players and, when their time frame is, I think we've shown if somebody's ready and we feel like they've kind of checked the boxes on their, on the things that we put in front of them from a development standpoint, we're gonna let those guys compete. So, I think the message to the young players in the organization is, the bar is set high and the standard's high, but honestly, there's a lot of belief and faith in that group. And, just because on paper somebody, has been a performer the last couple of years, that doesn't mean going forward that's how it's going to stack up. And I think those guys are going to, if they create their own opportunity, we're going to be open to having them be a part of this thing. And, I think that's all part of the game plan here, in terms of acquiring these players and still building up and still developing young, talented guys in the minor league system.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Bernie Wilson.
Hey, AJ, how you doing?
What's up, Bernie? How are you?
Good, thanks. Are you guys hedging your bets in case Lamet is not ready during spring training, after spring training, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that a little bit yesterday, put out there. No, I mean, Denilson, he's had a very good offseason. So I think this is, again, I think it's geared towards, again, like, feeling like this is going to be a 160 game season. You're going to need a lot of starting pitchers, and also just, in general, like, you probably can never have enough quality starters. I think, we feel like that's a big part of it. I think with Musgrove, again, like having him there, along with Darvish and Snell and, and Lamet, we want to look up and have a guy that every single night when you look down and you look at the matchup, you feel good about it. So I think it was a more product of that than, anything, there's not anything that we know from a health standpoint with Denilson Lamet that, is going to come out in the next couple of days. Like, this is, we're in the same spot throughout the off season. He's passed every test we've had. We'll get into spring training and he's going to be, a guy that we'll let go out and pitch. And, I think it's just more of adding to his strength and, feeling like we had a chance to add a real talent and build a real pitching staff. So that was really the whole motivation behind the deal.
Thank you.
We'll try to go back to Marty Caswell.
Apologies, my Wi-Fi is brutal right now, so apologies if I curse or if I cut out again. I'm not sure if you were asked this question. I know you were recently in the Dominican. Do you have an update on Denilson Lamet and what's going on there?
Yeah, with Denilson, he's really on track in terms of his throwing program. He works very hard. He looked very good, in terms of his physical condition and, where he's at from an arm standpoint. But again, I think we're realistic. Like, we'll get into the season and, until somebody really starts taking the ball every 5 days and is able to bounce back when, you've got to throw 60 plus, 80 plus pitches at max effort and velocity, that's going to be the true test. So far, I think the update looks great, probably even ahead of schedule, doing very well. But I think we're all realistic. Let's see what happens here when we get into spring training and he starts throwing every 5 days, 6 days, et cetera, and goes from there.
Is he throwing right now?
Yeah. He's throwing the baseball right now and looks good and says he most importantly feels good. So.
Okay, and I know that on these weekly Zooms, I think last time you said the door was still open on a couple of you guys, Kirby Yates or Jerks and Profar. Any more clarity on some of your internal guys?
Yeah, I think we've had plenty of conversations. I think we're still looking to, to improve the club. So I think, I think we're still open to conversations with the remaining free agents, both our guys and guys that are outside of the organization. And we'll see what plays out here in the next few weeks.
Thanks.
Next, we'll go to AJ Casbo.
Actually, that was kind of going to be my question. What is, what's left to get done this offseason now that your rotation looks like it's pretty complete? I mean, is the bench and the bullpen a priority now? And how close are you guys to being set with your roster going into the season?
Yeah, I think we're definitely looking in those, at those two areas. I think the bench is, that's probably our from a position player standpoint, just continuing to improve. The guys that, the whatever you want to say, the 8, 9, 10 player on our roster, but just continue making it a complete team. And we were able to, Ha-Sung Kim, who we feel like is a regular player that we're going to be able to do some different things with. Caratini, again, we feel like is a guy that's basically like a regular type catcher that now goes into that mix. And I could see us continuing to try to add to that grouping from a bench standpoint. And again, like in a bullpen standpoint, we like a lot of the arms that are on our roster. We feel good. We thought the pen threw really well, as we went last year. A lot of those guys that are still on our roster pitched well on a bullpen that really solidified itself as the year went on. We'll be open to what's out there, and we'll still continue to kind of dig on what's out there. But again, I think if this is the team we have going into the season, we'll be happy going into it, and look forward to sorting through some of the guys that are currently on our roster and coming into camp for us.
Does this trade mean that maybe it's more likely that a guy like Adrian Morejon or Ryan Weathers is in the bullpen this season as opposed to competing for a rotation spot?
I don't know. I mean, I think like we'll let it all play out. I mean, I think the message to those guys is going to be coming as a starter and be ready to pitch as a starting pitcher. And again, I think we sat down and talked to Ryan, for example, about 2 weeks ago now, and I think message to Ryan, hey, we've added guys, but and we'll continue to look to add guys. That's not anything that's going to be different really throughout his whole time with the Padres. So I think. Ultimately, it doesn't really affect him if he comes in and throws the way he is. All his job is to come in and compete, and then kind of let the chips fall, and we'll make good decisions. So, we definitely is not a situation where we're going into it and saying, hey, because we have on paper 5 starters that have been accomplished and have done well, that now we're going to shift everybody to the pen. I think we're going to come in with Weathers and Morejon and Gore and on. And have those guys start games and, see those guys as starting pitchers for us this year.
All right, time for just a couple more questions. We'll go to Tim Brown.
Hey, AJ. The first move to the phone was great. That's what I was laughing about. Very quick. I'm curious. Clearly, you were going to be very aggressive going into this offseason. The fact that you probably recognized early on that the industry is going to play this winter pretty conservatively, what role that had in either your strategy going forward, or particularly as the winter went on, and maybe in the fact that you've been able to be successful in making these deals?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's something we talked about, honestly, just in terms of like a general, like the general overview from a market standpoint. And again, sometimes it's good to, to go one direction when other people are going another direction. Sometimes it's not, though, so I don't think it's, it wasn't anything where, hey, because, it felt like the offseason was moving slower for other clubs that we were going to force something. I think it was just more of an idea that, maybe it led to some opportunities that may not have been there in a, in kind of an offseason that was moving quicker from an action standpoint. But, ultimately, I think the bigger thing from us was, that we just lined up on deals that we felt like made sense for us. And, did the kind of the pace of the marketplace, help us there? I don't know. Philosophically, was that something we were going to force? Definitely not. But, ultimately, we were in a good spot. And, I think probably the biggest thing is because we have talent, so I think that was probably the biggest thing. And honestly, for Peter Seiler to be open to adding to the group that we had last year and taking on some payroll, I think those two things lined up, and that's probably why we're able to line up on those deals more than anything else.
Spring training, you're still assuming report date is report date, and you're telling your pitchers to prepare as if that's the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's until we're told differently. I think we're ready for the 17th, and and I think getting prepared for the 17th and playing a full season. And then again, I think we really the messaging to our players has been be ready to be to adapt and be flexible again. So for right now, it's it's business as usual and get ready for the 17th and looking for an ultimate goal of April 1st, I believe, with opening day, the start of the season, and then be ready to adjust if things change here over the course of the next few weeks.
Thanks, man. Good luck.
Thanks, Tim.
We'll finish up with a question from Margaret with NHK.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Hey, Margaret, how are you?
Coming from a 60-game regular season to a possible 162 game, would you ever tinker with the thought of a 6-man rotation?
I mean, I think, again, I think, probably the biggest thing for us was lining up the talent, to where we had a lot of different starting pitching options. And I think we'll be open-minded to anything, honestly. I think we'll get into spring training and, really as we go, we'll see how guys are throwing. We'll see the health of the staff, kind of get a feel on how guys are coming back into camp and what type of shape, how players are bouncing back, getting ready for a longer season. And then make that call then. So I think that's probably more of a spring training question. I think that'll be something that we dig into more when we get into Peoria. And I think a lot's going to be dictated by how our players are doing and how they're showing. And I think we'll be open to what we think gets us gives us a chance to get off to the best start this year.
Arigato.
Thank you, AJ, for your time. We appreciate it. And just a heads up for everybody on this call, we're going to hopefully set up another call with Joe Musgrove later today, so stay tuned for that. But thank you again, AJ. We appreciate your time, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.